So
Yeah.
I may have to pause the show because someone at the door.
No.
All right, give me a second.
That's a first.
So welcome to the NerdBrand Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Jason. That's Mitch. And this is Kelsey from GoFundMe. Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So on this episode, we're talking storytelling through brand raising. And our guest here is from GoFundMe. And Kelsey was the founding member of GoFundMe communications marketing team and now leads the head of brand storytelling. And I'm going to read a quote you have. You said, one of my proudest accomplishments is building out the GoFundMe Heroes program, which includes a podcast I host and produce that tells the stories of everyday heroes who use our platform to do good in the world. So I want to kind of give you the floor to kind of introduce yourself, talk about that, and share.
Absolutely. Thank you for that great intro. Yeah, so I started at GoFundMe. My 8-year anniversary is in like 3 weeks or something like that. And when I started, we were like under 15 people in a very small office in San Diego. And now I think during the pandemic, we hit like 400 employees.
Wow.
So it's been wild to have this experience. I think, when you join a startup, you don't know how it's necessarily going to go, and everyone hopes it's going to become that like household name unicorn company. But that actually happened in this case. Yeah, it's like when I started, it was an interesting litmus test. I feel like, I would talk to people about what I did, and maybe like 3 out of 10 people had heard of GoFundMe when I started, and now literally everything that happens in the news, there's a GoFundMe for within hours. It's wild. It's become a verb, it's just like what people mean when they say that is fundraising, or it's become a meme in recent months. Like there are tons of viral tweets about how like GoFundMe is the third branch of government, because they're failing us wildly. And yeah, so that's been crazy. And so I started in our customer happiness department. There was no comms or marketing team when I started. As usually goes, like our founders did everything. Like our co-founder Brad Damhouse had like a little webcam next to his computer, and in between like doing product reviews and engineering stuff, he would like talk to reporters, but he freaking hated talking to reporters. So I got the wonderful opportunity to kind of take all the comm stuff on and build our early marketing efforts. So yeah, that was really exciting. And then over the years, our marketing and comms teams have really grown. Amazing talent is now here helping build these things. But like you mentioned, my proudest achievement to date is growing our GoFundMe Heroes program. And that includes our podcast. So I'm also a podcaster. And yeah, we just get to tell these amazing stories of people who are using the platform to do the most wonderful things in their communities and in the world. And it's like inspiring every single day.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. It's always good when you work for a place and it kind of, like you said, I latched onto you said it become a verb, that GoFundMe has become that. I don't know, maybe one day, Mitch, will get lucky and NerdBrand that will become a thing.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, see, it's funny because Kelsey, when you said that, I was thinking it while you were saying it. It's like, it's funny how GoFundMe has become, it's become a verb. It's become like that cat. It's like when people across the country want a soft drink and they say they want a Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's that same kind of brand awareness that is enviable. It's where everybody wants to be. They want to become the top of the heap in their segment. They want to become the name that represents that entire segment. And GoFundMe has done that, which is just it's so cool. It's a credit to what you and your teammates have done there.
Yeah. Nobody says, give me a Puffs. Everybody says, I want a Kleenex.
Exactly.
That's
like,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
take an Uber. Yeah, it's cool to like reflect on that actually, because I remember when, especially when you're in a startup and you're just like future thinking all the time. And like, that was totally something that we all would say like someday, that's going to happen. And it's wild. but it's cool though, because it hasn't lost its like startup feel like yet. So that's we're kind of like in the sweet spot right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many other, just out of curiosity, I mean, nobody else really comes top of mind to me when I think of other, online fundraising, avenues that you can seek. I'm sure they're out there, but you guys pretty much cornered the market on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's Kickstarter. That's another one. That's
Right.
Like creative projects, and Facebook does like their birthday fundraisers and stuff. But largely, like, I think the real beauty of GoFundMe and the brand advantage that we have over other platforms is really the storytelling aspect. So like, I don't know if you guys have probably never been to the GoFundMe homepage. A lot of people probably never have. It's because you go right to the campaign page. Like, you see someone's story in your personal, like social feed, and you go right to their campaign page and you read the story, and that's how you form the emotional connection with, the website. And you might feel moved to make a donation, and it's kind of like this living, breathing thing. And once people raise money, there's no end date that you have to set for your GoFundMe, so it can stay up indefinitely as this kind of like living testament to the kindness of your community that rallied together to help you during whatever time that was. It's pretty special.
Well, it's very practical too, because if you have an organization or someone or something that has an ongoing need, that avenue is always there. It stays open. It's an open door that that people can continue to access. So in that respect, it's very practicable. But like you said, the other side of that being the fact that it's a living testament to the goodness of people,
Exactly.
the good that people can do, and the ability to actually communicate that message out to other people and bring them along with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, if you ever need like a pick up, or you feel like humans are just terrible, like you've been on Twitter for too long or something, like just go to like a GoFundMe page for anything and read the comments, and you're just like, wow, people are kind. They're kind.
Yeah.
There's kindness happening out there.
Faith in humanity restored.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty much like the reason that I do our podcast, is I want to remind people that humans are not terrible all the time.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom out there. Like, I'm a Redditor. I don't really like post on Reddit. I more just kind of browse and peruse and read, and I mean, there's some rabbit holes you can go down, so I stay away from. I just follow the main news stories and popular stuff. I don't get into the conspiracies and all that garbage. But sometimes I read the comments and I'm just like, really?
I just downloaded Reddit for the first time in my life, the app, and I can only be on it for like a few minutes. I'm like, what is going on in here?
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about Twitter too. I mean, after a while, it's just like, you can only like handle so much of it, and you've got to like step away. I mean, I've shared on the podcast here before. I mean, I stepped away from Facebook big time. I've only returned in the last year, maybe, but in a business sense, I don't really post anything personal anymore on my personal Facebook, because I don't know. I just find that people that I used to know and be connected with that I'm not connected with on there anymore, they just didn't know how to behave.
Don't know how to act.
I came to that realization recently, because I was like, why do I hate posting things on Facebook so much? It's because someone that you haven't spoken with in 12 years, because the platform is that old, will comment on something personal, and you're like, what gives you the right to comment on this? Like, we don't know each other anymore. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. Or
who are you again?
The tone of the comment. Like, I would get the crappiest, remarks and just the rudest ones. And I was like, you realize everybody that's here and your people see, like, they just didn't understand. Like, it's sort of like standing in a crowd of 500 people and saying something completely stupid that majority of the people there realizes you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say those are inside voices. They need to stay in here.
Oh boy.
This could be a whole new podcast topic, but that's kind of the price we pay for having platforms where you can have open discussion, open debate. Is you have to take the bad with the good. But it's so easy now, because it's it's something just shy of anonymous.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to jump out and punch you in the face if you say something. You know, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about physical harm. You don't have to worry about people coming to your house and, you know, harassing you. So you have this, maybe, good qualifier, but you have this, it gives you kind of, there's this freedom, I guess, to feel, well, I can say whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about repercussions, which, you know, now people find a way. If you raise enough, if there's enough outrage, people find a way. But it's having that wall of separation that social media offers. I think that makes people feel real gutsy sometimes.
Well, that wall is getting like it's like a partition, you know, when you would work in a cubicle farm, you know, where they are this high, all of a sudden now they're this high, and so all you gotta do is just kind of do that, and you don't know what's going to get shot and fired your way the moment you go like this and peek up, you know. So it's like, but because the more people that got in and the more connected we've become, the more aware everybody's become of what other people think. And it's like, whew, wow, I'm going to step out of this for a minute.
I know we're not here to talk about social platforms today, but I just have to ask because okay. How do you guys feel about Clubhouse? I have very strong opinions on it.
Everybody asks. Everybody, I would have been surprised if you didn't ask.
We had an intern working with us, and she's very passionate. She's going to go on to great things, but she was like, you got to get into Clubhouse. You got to go to Clubhouse. And I'll speak for John since he's not able to be here for this episode. You know, he said, and I think he said this on the last episode we did, I'm not interested in going into like an all-day meeting online, you know.
Conference call app. It's
right.
Oh my God. Okay. So I predict it will not last. And the main reason, there's that part, but the magic or like the draw of social or like the fun of it is you can hop on, it's like on demand. It's like a podcast or like any other social app. You can go and see what you've missed, but this doesn't offer that at all. And like nothing's recorded. You have to be there and you can't really participate unless you're like hosting. And it's a giant conference call. I don't get it at all.
Well, send a group text.
Yeah. It's like the perfect example of something that could have been an email. It's like, no, I don't. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad because it's just funny when like all the buzz happens when stuff like that comes up and everyone's obsessed with it for like 2 weeks and then I haven't heard anyone talking about it.
Yeah, well, it's that newness. I mean, I remember when TikTok started catching and everybody was like laughing at it. And of course, from a marketing and branding perspective, I mean, we can't as a company work on behalf of somebody else to be there with your phone and take a video of you. And that's not, you know, so it's very influencer in my view. I'm not on TikTok and I don't think I can do any video other than this that people would even probably want to watch. So it's not for me. And I get that. I'm not the audience, but Clubhouse seems to like be geared more toward business, you know, trying to get people in the room and sharing ideas. But I think, you know, some of the things that I've read on Reddit about it is that there's just horrifying advice coming from some of those people
Really?
that are in there. Yeah. Like just really bad thing. Like that is totally not true, inaccurate kind of stuff in conversations. Cause people, you know, we know people skim articles and headlines, and some of those articles you just shouldn't even give any attention to, frankly. So they come in there with that opinion and think that, oh, that's it. So it's like the last episode we just did was with Diana Richardson at SEMrush. I almost said SEMrush.
Almost did it.
It's SEMrush. Anyways, but yeah, we kind of touched like on that a little bit about, you know, like SEO with myths about that, how that actually does work and, you know, what you do. And it's like, you know, there's branding and narrative and storytelling. I mean, I think the market that we're in, and I don't know, maybe they'll flesh it out in Clubhouse. You never know. There might be a Clubhouse group that actually has their act together and understands this, that, you know, what you say matters. And there are just, unfortunately, there just are absolutes.
And there's reasons things work and there's reasons they don't. I mean, one of the things that strikes me about Clubhouse we've kind of touched on is now granted, I haven't participated in it, but it seems like that it doesn't do anything novel that you can't find someplace else.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to continue to watch. Right now, you have to be invited to use it. John actually has used it, and that's why he has opinions of like, nah, I don't want to be in a meeting all day.
Yeah.
So
other things to do.
Yeah.
I agree.
Enjoy your life.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyways, before we get into the topic of basically today, what we're talking about, I'll read it again because it's Friday. Thankfully, we made it to another Friday, but it's storytelling through brand raising. And brand raising is really just, it's brand awareness. And whether you're a person or an organization, it's something to be aware of. Your personal brand is as much as the organizational brand. We'll get into that in a little bit. Right now, I want to give the floor to Mitch, Mitch, you have some nerd news.
My floor. Oh, the floor. Oh, my topic. Okay.
Not that floor.
Not that floor. Today's nerd news. The first teaser trailer for Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings hit this week. The upcoming superhero film is based on the Marvel Comics character Shang-Chi. It stars Canadian actor Simu Liu as a martial artist who's been trained to be an assassin since childhood by the Ten Rings terror organization. If you've watched any of the Iron Man movies, then you might have an idea of who that is. And he then tries to escape that organization to have a normal life in San Francisco. Other cast members include Awkwafina as his friend Katie, Tony Leung as Shang-Chi's father, and that'll be a big reveal when that gets into the story. And who's the leader of the Ten Rings, and Michelle Yeoh as, I hope I'm not butchering this, Zhang Nan. Interesting note: Marvel had huge success with Black Panther. It gave them entree into showing that they have more of a multicultural stable of characters and stories they can tell. But there was an interesting note when Tilda Swinton was cast as the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. In the comics, that character is an Asian character. So there was a little bit of hue and cry that there was some whitewashing going on, when the exact opposite of that was basically the story. They were trying to avoid any Asian stereotypes. So that's why they kind of cast the Ancient One as as more of a European looking character.
She was Celtic, actually. She was like,
right. Exactly.
My background is Irish Indian. So
right. Well, and that,
Irish Native American, I guess I should say. There was exactly. So what they're trying to do is they're going with Shang-Chi. Once again, they're hoping they can have the same kind of success they had with Black Panther, and again showcase the fact that they have a multi-ethnic view, multicultural view. That's a huge stable of characters that crosses the spectrum of gender and race. So we're hoping for big things with that. One little thing I kind of want to end with is that James Cameron did an interview with Jimmy Fallon, and he had an interesting quote, and it was, "Let's pray that movie theaters are still there after the pandemic and after the shift towards streaming. Not that I have anything in streaming. There's great writing and great shows in streaming. But let's remember that movie theaters are a sacred experience for all of us. Let's get back out there when it's safe and do so." And I thought that was so interesting. Kelsea, I don't know where you stand on this or how you feel about it, but I love the movie theater experience. I love seeing, especially big blockbuster and big event style films on a big screen with amazing, immersive sound. And then the whole experience right down to getting the popcorn and sitting in your seat and the little chit chat you have with your friends or your family before the movie comes on. Me and my family have kind of gotten into this thing with the Marvel films. My two daughters, which are grown now, and my wife, we go opening day, and it's a big deal for us. It's something we plan, that we look forward to. I really, really hope that studios like Marvel and some of the others can continue to output these big event films, so we can continue to have that, that near religious experience of sitting in a theater and being immersed for a couple of hours in a completely different world, and a completely different reality. Because I tell you right now, personally, as much as I love Netflix, as much as I love what's going on with Disney Plus, with the Marvel and other properties there, I really miss sitting in a theater and having that 2 hours to just completely disappear.
Yeah. I mean, it's been so interesting and heartbreaking in many cases to see how the pandemic has changed industries like these. And I've been thinking about this, like all these industries are going to come back, I think, but like the thing that is sad is, you know, and even with restaurants and stuff, like there's lots of restaurants that close in San Diego, they'll be replaced by something. Lots of theaters have closed, they'll be replaced by something, but it's going to be like with people with a bunch of money, you know, so that's probably going to be different about it. It's going to be maybe a little less character than the places that you went before.
Yeah.
You know, it's going
that kind of local feel.
Totally. And that might be different for a while, but I think we'll bounce back, and those, you know, over time, those places will start to open again with, you know, passionate people coming together and, you know, making magic happen. I agree with you. There's something so magical about the movie theater experience, and it's just, it's so different than just watching it like on your laptop, which is what we've been doing for the last year and something. So yeah.
I like trailers. I mean, trailers to me are an ad, so I like watching that. I mean, I've been paying for years close attention to Marvel and how they basically do their branding and their advertising. Hence the name of the podcast being NerdBrand before the agency came along. And you know, they've just we've lauded over them a lot on the show about how they do things and how they promote and are able to connect with their audience. And now with this new movie coming out that Mitch brought up, it's opening up a new segment. It's just going into, that's how I see it. Just like what Black Panther did, this is what this is doing. And I think that's going to continue because they're very aware socially around them of what's going on, both not just with the pandemic and the theaters and everything. I do have to applaud them, and they are something to look to how to pivot, which I hate to use that word because everybody uses it to death, literally. In just 2020, just everything was pivot. But kind of like Ross moving a couch up the steps on that Friends episode where he's just screaming pivot.
Well, you know, it is interesting. And I don't know that they planned it this way. Obviously, I mean, how could you? But look what Marvel was able to accomplish. They were able to still maintain having their brand out front and maintaining and even building more brand awareness when they launched WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier on Disney Plus during the pandemic. People still had entree into their brand during the pandemic without the theaters being open. So they managed. To me, it's probably serendipitous. There's no way they could have planned it that way. But it just goes to show you that in this day and age, that kind of multi-platform view that brands have to survive and to maintain and to grow. You know, there's a lot of places your brand can occupy to get your message out now. It's beautiful in its own way. You've got social, you've got digital, you've got, you know, you still got broadcast, there's still print, but there's so many avenues now to have your brand up front and to touch your audience. And they just do Marvel does a remarkable job of taking advantage of it. And then having something bad happen that you can't really plan for. Yeah. And the fact that you've made use of these platforms gives you a leg up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all very smart decision making. I'm excited about this movie. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan in general. I apologize. I just like it's not my like.
That's fine.
but I do really love the ones that like dip into representation. Like Black Panther, I loved for that reason. Captain Marvel, I love for that reason. I'm excited for this one for that reason. I just think the more media, the more representation we have in media in general, the better. It's just making the world a better place. So I love that. Oh, just before we move on from the nerd news segment, I just you guys my nerd street cred. I love Lord of the Rings. I wish they were like Marvel, like making things all the time. But guess who I had on my podcast in season 1, and we still email?
Who?
Sean Austin.
Really?
Yes.
I'll be darned.
We're like email friends, but I used to do all the podcast episodes in person, and so I went to like Calabasas to this like fancy studio and interviewed him, and it was like the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. So that's my nerd news.
Serious nerd cred.
Thanks.
I mean, the nerd of the LOTR following is hardcore and devoted and massive and unrelenting. So I tip my
Well, Netflix just
Invisible
dropped
Hat.
a bunch of money for a series on that, I believe.
They did?
I think so. It's one of those.
Or is it Amazon?
Yeah, they may have been Amazon, but it was either Netflix or Amazon did this, and I was like, whoa, it's like multi-millions of dollars, and I was like,
Oh,
wow.
that's exciting.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, I love the Lord of the Rings, but the trilogy of that's fine. The Hobbit, a lot of walking and depressing. It could have been probably a 2-hour movie, and they stretched it out over 3 movies at 3 hours each, and I was just like, eh. So, but yeah. So yeah, we've got like, yeah, so that's really good nerd cred, street cred right there, because you're like, guess who I know?
I have to tell you guys that.
We'll now allow you back on the show because you've now shown your nerd cred.
Yeah.
I kid. Is there anything? I mean, one of the things Jason talks about is, we use a quote from Will Wheaton that says, "It's not what you love, it's how you love it. It's what makes you a nerd." So, is there anything else out there in the world that you're devoted to, that you're nerdy about, that you're really, really into, it's that hardcore avocation that maybe you don't make a living with it, but if you could, you'd do it tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this counts, but like cooking, I own like 7 cookbooks. It's like a problem. And I have my most frequently used app is the New York Times cooking app, and it's like a whole community, and there's like a Facebook group for it. But literally every weekend I spend like 6 hours, and I do new recipes every single time. And like, if tomorrow I could just like leave my life and start a restaurant without any risk, I would do that. So yeah, I'm a nerd about cooking for sure.
And wow. It's a shame. It's a shame you're not closer, because you could invite us to dinner anytime. Because one thing we're not afraid of is to eat.
I mean, I love throwing dinner parties, so someday we'll make that happen.
Yeah. See, my thing is I can't cook. Like I screwed up so much in an air fryer that I recently bought that it has probably made John question on whether or not I should own it anymore.
No. Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like somebody who can't make toast.
Well, I can do that, and I have screwed up mac and cheese and oatmeal. So I mean, not the two together, because that's just gross.
But not in an air fryer.
Yeah, or you put chicken in an air fryer and you do the thing and you turn the knob and it goes ding and you think like, good, I got fried chicken, and you pull out and you look at it and you're like, I don't like anything like fried chicken.
Oh my God. Oh dear.
So she's cringing. Inside she's going, oh my God, what's he done?
No, I just don't want him to hurt himself. I'm scared.
Nothing caught on fire. So at least there's that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what is brand raising? So this is sort of like my own definition, but it's as close as I can get to it. Brand raising involves creating a system of communication about your brand to raise awareness. This fuels fundraising efforts and helps you clearly communicate your mission and values to your audience. And so one of the biggest mistakes nonprofits make with their branding effort is accidental branding. Basically, accidental branding happens when nonprofits don't take the time to plan their brand strategy, and they don't consider the implications of choosing their brand identity and clearly establishing their mission and vision. And with what we're talking about with our guest today, of course, it's all personal fundraising. It's not nonprofits, but eventually they could transcend into a nonprofit if the cause is popular enough, and so I guess first question that I kind of put into our show notes was, how can nonprofits raise money through storytelling? And I had like 5, like video marketing. I think with personal people that want to raise money for their own GoFundMe, like you've got now TikTok that I think would be like a huge advantage, given that the fact that you could do a TikTok video and it could go on YouTube, it can go on anywhere. Are there a lot of people out there that you've seen that perhaps that are running GoFundMe pages? How are they using video, or do you have any particular stories where they've done it really well?
Yeah, so this is interesting. So like storytelling in my eyes is about the way that you tell the story and like the elements that you include. And the beauty of it is that it can transcend to any medium. Like video, for instance, is a really powerful medium, and one that I think that nonprofits, since we're talking about that, should lean into more. But what I think that it needs to come down to in storytelling is creating a human connection. And I think that's nonprofits miss the mark a lot of the time, honestly, but they have such a big opportunity because all of their work is human based generally. But I think nonprofits focus a lot too much on like their overall impact story or like the big numbers or like what have they been able to do. But there's such a big opportunity, and this goes for, you know, any GoFundMe as well. It's, you want to tell the story of the person that's being impacted. You want to, you know, if you're a nonprofit, focus on an individual impact story that your nonprofit has been able to, you know, connect with, and introduce that person, like help the viewer or the reader or whatever the format is, and form an emotional connection with that person's story and who they are, and then like introduce the struggle that they're facing. And by that time you'll care about that because you care about the person that you're, you know, you're hearing about, and then show either if nonprofit, you know, how they played a role in helping, or if it's an individual GoFundMe page, how you as a donor can play a role in, you know, helping this issue resolve or get better. So yeah, I think there's that really, you know, anytime I watch a piece of, you know, media or advertising, like that's what gets me, is those human stories. And I think that that's what everyone should be leaning into. But video specifically, yeah, GoFundMe's with videos typically raise like, I don't know how much X more than other ones, but it's just like a really engaging form of content. And then TikTok specifically, we've been seeing people like dip into that a little bit more. And there's specifically this girl, I think she's Nashville based, and her name's Lexi. And she goes around and does these like tipping challenges. So she has like a pretty good, you know, community on her TikTok. And she'll have them all like contribute to a GoFundMe. And then she'll go out in the community and do like random acts of kindness. So she'll go like through, you know, someone will nominate someone in the community. And there's this woman who worked at a drive-through, and they went and like gave her a new car or something because she couldn't have a reliable way to get to work. So there's like interesting ways people are using storytelling to make an impact. It's really cool.
I think Kelsea, you raised an interesting point about, you know, nonprofits and they don't do a good job of making that human connection with people, striking that emotional chord. Because one of the things we preach at NerdBrand is for any brand, people will not get up and act upon an impulse unless you strike an emotional chord.
Yes.
You have to make it emotionally relevant. And with nonprofits, it's essential, because it's not enough to just say, we have this wonderful cause that has such laudable goals and such a laudable mission. I think sometimes they fall back on that and think, well, our mission is so solid that that's all we have to do. We just have to kind of throw that mission out there, and people are automatically going to latch on to it just because of the goodness of the mission. Mm-hmm. Make it real, make it relevant, make it resonate. Strike an emotional chord with people that makes them feel that need, feel that impact. And again, video, we're big believers in video for the reason that you mentioned, because it's cross-platform. You can use video, excuse me, in so many places, on the web, on digital, on social channels, and then not to mention traditional media. So yeah, I mean, you've got to hit that hit me right away with any good brand. You've got to strike an emotional chord for people to act or react to your message.
Yeah, but it's what's in the video to me. Like I was thinking, and you may have already said and hinted around it. It's like when you shoot the video or when you're doing it, plan. You know, it's let's say I'm a nonprofit, I'm an organization. If I get up on camera, kind of like a talking head like this, and I'm like, I'm so and so, and I'm raising money for Alex because Alex needs blah blah blah. I think it just should start out like, meet Alex. Mm-hmm. This is who Alex is. This is what he or she are struggling with. This is the need. Can you help? And so you kind of, in a way, you're not putting yourself in the back, but you're kind of putting that need first. You're in that way of communication. You're putting that need up front like that. So I may have to pause the show because someone at the door.
No.
All right, give me a second.
That's a first.
Well, anyways, this could be a hard cut, but email marketing is another way to tell your story. probably not something as savvy that the average, if it's a person raising personal branding and doing fundraising, is probably not going to be savvy about that, because you can't just send out 700 emails if you know that many people from your Gmail account. You're going to get, that's the definition of spam. So social media seems to be a better way to kind of do that. You brought up when we were talking about how when somebody goes on to GoFundMe and they have a they need help, that they don't land on GoFundMe's main web page. They land on the campaign page, and that's typically what you would see on social. I think, can you share, like, I don't know if you know the capabilities of what the campaign pages allow as far as content. It sounds like they allow maybe embedded video if they want to share a video, but and of course copy. But is there any other tips about how they should think about constructing those campaign pages?
Yeah. So best practices when putting together a GoFundMe page. Again, storytelling is key. So, you've got, they seem like basic elements, but even like you have to think of a title for your GoFundMe. And that it's not a make or break, but I always say something like descriptive and memorable. So, help me pay my medical bills is probably kind of generic, and you're gonna like scroll past that in your Facebook feed. But I should like think of a better one off the top of my head. But something a little something that's gonna stick when people are scrolling through social. And then you've got the campaign description, and that's really where you want to be clear with the situation, but also, form an emotional connection with people. So like, why is this cause important to you? What would it mean to you to receive support from your donors? Just making people feel like they can really make a difference. That's important. You have to set a goal as well. So making that reasonable and, attainable. And then, you've got video. So that's the big dynamic. Video and photo you can include in your GoFundMe, but after that, it's really up to the organizer to kind of be a little entrepreneurial with it. We've got like share buttons and everything, but it's good to get creative. So, reaching people where they are in your life, that might be even like a personal text message to, your 5 closest friends or family members who could like kick things off, or a personal email to those people. And asking other people to share is really important, and just like building momentum, around a moment, and, striking that importance in other people's hearts as well. And rallying support.
People that have causes that they want to promote, and then how that could easily jump to becoming a nonprofit and becoming a much larger, thing to manage and deal with. Are there many stories out there that you've seen where that's happened? Or am I just my imagination running away with me?
Where cause it's taken off.
Yeah. So largely on GoFundMe, it is personal fundraising. Our biggest 3 categories are medical, memorial, and emergency. So it's really that like one-to-one. But interestingly, the stories that I deal with on our podcast or in the GoFundMe Heroes program are those types of stories. So it's individuals who are using the platform to address a cause or a larger need. And lots of them have gone on to become their own like mini movements, or even start nonprofit organizations. Even my favorite ones, but the ones that make me feel like, what am I doing with my life, are like these kid heroes. Like, I know so many nonprofit founders that are under like 16 years old. It's wild.
Wow.
But they're
You're
just
seeing a lot.
They're amazing. Like, and they're not just like cute. They're like really like changing their communities and like these nonprofit spaces. It's incredible. So that does happen a lot, and it's because they're so tenacious about their brand raising, honestly, and their messaging, and being very like fastidious and intentional with getting the message out there, and getting people excited about their cause. It's pretty cool. Every time I interview like a 9-year-old nonprofit founder, I'm just like, I quit. Like, what am I doing?
Some could turn up and be very articulate too, so it's very surprising. I mean, they
are.
Yeah.
the single-mindedness that they seem to display, I think, is what's fascinating to me, because I get, maybe adults get wrapped up in a lot of the details. As we get older, we get a little bit more cynical, so we start asking more, well, why? You know what I mean? All the why questions, or, well, how are you going to do that? Kids they don't reach that level of cynicism, so that doesn't occur to them. That this is the thing I want to do. I think I can accomplish it, and I'm going to set all of my time and energy to doing it. And damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Yeah.
I think there's something we could learn from, like you said, like that 9-year-old and people.
That's kind of an entrepreneurial
kids.
type of thinking, though. I mean, entrepreneurs are not people that typically get mired into the details of thing, and they don't really typically. The overthinking usually occurs with people that are more analytical in that respect. But an entrepreneur is just like, I'm going to do a thing because I really feel strongly about it. It's more about the heart than it is the head when it comes to doing something. And I think that's why, like you said, the kids they've not been tainted yet by society and cynicism. And so they are really tapping into that vein of thinking that you need in order to just go out and do something. Because you start overthinking it, you're not going to go anywhere. You're just kind of in the mud.
Kids are honestly the best brand raisers out there, to be honest. Their messaging is
it's kind of ironic. So kind of the running gag with kids is that they're distracted by all the shiny things, but it's in cases like this, they're not distracted at all. They just have this thing in their head. There's something they want to do that's so cool, and they just want to make people feel what they're feeling. They want them to have the satisfaction that they have. It's very simple. It's just a very simple mission.
Yeah.
If you do what I'm doing, and if you contribute to what I'm involved in, you're going to feel as good as I'm going to feel. And it's going to change your life. And that's it. Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong.
And GoFundMe's kind of empowering that. That's kind of the way I see it. I mean, you're providing that platform, you're providing that ability to empower that, to encourage that.
Yeah.
On an individual basis, that's what I think so cool about it.
Let everybody know where they can find you, Kelsey, and how they can, if they wanted to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Kelsea Little, Kelsa, little like small. You can connect with me on Twitter. I think it's Kelsea_Little. And if you want to read some of these inspiring stories, go check out GoFundMe.com/heroes. It'll brighten your day, I promise.
All right, we appreciate you being on the show and taking the time to talk with us. And we hope you have a great weekend. And for everybody out there listening, go check Kelsey out, read up on her on LinkedIn, check out that link at GoFundMe. And remember, everybody, keep your nerd brand strong.